This is a Sales Geek Academia to Business Translation production.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're cutting through all the hype to translate the latest academic research on generative AI, and we're doing it specifically for you, the sales leader. Because let's be honest, your sales team, they're probably drowning in the need for constant, fresh, compelling content. We're talking personalized emails, LinkedIn posts, those client-specific decks. It's a lot. You're trying to keep up, but the budget's, well, tight. So is there some kind of magic bullet? We're diving into generative AI today, not just as another buzzword, but maybe as a potential lifeline. Okay, let's unpack this. How can this new wave of AI actually transform your sales content strategy?
Yeah, it's definitely more than just buzz. It feels like a pretty fundamental shift. When we talk generative AI, we're not talking about AI that just automates tasks we already do. We mean AI that actually creates completely new digital content. All from simple prompts you give it. Think about it. You tell the AI, hey, I need a persuasive sales email, or maybe give me a striking image for this social post, maybe even a draft video script, and boom, it generates it almost instantly. And the uptake has been, well, staggering. ChatGPT hit 100 million users in just a week. That's unheard of. The reason it's exploded isn't just novelty, though. These tools are super accessible, they're pretty user-friendly, you get answers fast, and honestly, the perceived quality often feels remarkably high. And that's exactly why the research we're digging into today calls generative AI a true game changer for content marketing. It comes down to efficiency, creativity, and just sheer speed of production. Imagine, say, slashing the time it takes to draft 50 personalized sales emails by 80% without totally sacrificing quality. That's the kind of impact we're talking about for sales leaders. It's potentially huge.
That speed, yeah, and the accessibility, that's definitely grabbed everyone's attention. And that 80% figure for email drafting time, wow, that really opens your eyes. But okay, when we talk generative AI, the first thing a lot of sales leaders probably worry about is jobs. Is AI really coming for our marketing teams? Or is it more nuanced, like how roles might change?
That's absolutely the right question. And right now, at least, it really does lean heavily towards augmentation, not outright replacement. Generative AI is proving incredibly good at enhancing the traditional ways we create content. Like, it can generate these ultra-realistic product shots that used to need whole design teams, right? Or it can draft informational articles that previously would require long interviews with experts. Which brings us to this really critical idea, human-AI collaboration. We're actually seeing new roles pop up, like prompt engineers, because the quality of what the AI spits out, it's directly tied to how good the prompts are that you or your team feed into it. It's more about guiding the AI effectively, not just pushing a button.
Ah, okay. So it's less about just typing a simple command and more about crafting the question, like becoming a master communicator.
Right.
But with the AI. That definitely sounds like a new skill set for marketing and sales teams.
Yeah.
But what are the sort of hidden traps here? Where does the AI tend to, stumble? Especially when we're talking about high-stakes sales content.
You're spot on. It's definitely not a silver bullet.
Yeah.
There are some pretty significant challenges that sales leaders absolutely need to be aware of. First up, accuracy issues. Big time. AI models can suffer from what researchers call hallucination effects. Basically, the content sounds incredibly convincing, totally credible, but it's actually wrong, factually incorrect.
Yeah.
Imagine drafting a client proposal using AI and it confidently throws in a made-up statistic, or maybe a non-existent product feature. Ouch, that could seriously damage trust, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Trust is everything in sales.
Sure.
That's a scary thought. What else?
Second, there are quality flaws. While the output can be impressive, AI-generated images, for instance, can still have these weird, visible imperfections. We've all seen those examples, right? Like the deformed hands in some Mid-Journey images.
Yeah, the six-finger problem.
Exactly. Now, imagine your sales team needs polished visuals. Accidentally generating an image for, say, a LinkedIn profile with an extra finger, that could undermine your credibility pretty fast. And third, there's what I'd call nuance mismatch. AI-generated stuff might not perfectly capture your very specific nuanced brand voice or the subtle cultural points that really connect with your target audience. It might just miss the mark slightly, which means, and this is key for sales leaders, your marketing teams and really anyone creating sales-facing content must interpret, assess, and definitely modify what the AI generates. You have to ensure accuracy, maintain quality, guarantee relevancy. It is not a set it and forget it kind of tool. You need active human oversight, particularly for anything going to a client.
That makes total sense. The human element is still absolutely critical. We're guiding the AI, checking its homework, essentially, not just letting it run loose. But this brings up a bigger question for me. Does a small, scrappy sales team get the same kind of benefit from AI as, say, a huge enterprise with deep pockets? And does AI content even work the same way across different platforms, like TikTok versus LinkedIn? Is it all the same?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. Resources and context matter a lot here. Let's take SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. They often struggle, right? Limited resources, limited time for content creation. They're usually focused on just running the business. For them, generative AI tools can be a game changer. They're relatively easy to use, great for brainstorming, great for getting something out quickly. It can really lower the barrier to entry, letting smaller sales teams produce content at a scale that maybe wasn't possible before. It can sort of level the playing field.
Okay, so it helps the little guy compete. I like that.
But there's always a but, isn't there? There's a flip side. Larger firms often have the budget for dedicated experts, people whose whole job is basically to check the AI's work, verify accuracy, ensure quality before anything goes public. SMEs, often because of cost pressures, they might skip that critical verification step, especially if they're already stretched thin. So you could end up with this divergence, where the quality and reliability of AI-assisted content starts to vary based on company size. That's definitely something sales leaders should keep an eye on, even when looking at content from partners or competitors.
Right, so AI democratizes creation, potentially, but maybe at the risk of quality control for smaller players. Interesting. Okay, moving to platforms. You mentioned TikTok versus LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Is there a one-size-fits-all for AI content on, say, Instagram versus maybe a technical white paper aimed at Google search?
No, absolutely not. What's really fascinating here is that there's definitely no one-size-fits-all strategy. Each platform, TikTok for short video, Twitter for snappy text, Instagram for visuals, LinkedIn for professional content, they all have their own unique infrastructure, their own algorithms, their own kind of culture, right? So AI-generated content is likely to perform very differently depending on where you put it. And crucially, platforms themselves might get better and better at detecting AI-generated content.
Okay, so the platforms might fight back.
Could be. It might lead to algorithms starting to favor human-produced stuff, or maybe even penalizing AI content if it looks like spam or it's low quality. If certain platforms just get flooded with generic AI content, we might see this crowding out effect. The overall value of content goes down, which ironically could make high-quality, truly unique, really well-crafted human content even more valuable. Stand out from the noise,
That makes sense. Quality rises to the top. What about search engines, like Google?
Similar risk there. If AI-generated content is too generic, or worse, if it contains misinformation, search engines like Google or Bing might flag it as spam or low value. That could obviously hurt your SEO, your search engine optimization, which is, let's face it, vital for getting found and driving inbound leads for sales. Now, conversely, a well-prompted piece of AI content, maybe carefully edited by a human, that could be perfectly tailored for SEO success. But again, it needs that human strategy, that oversight. So it's this really delicate balance for sales leaders, isn't it? How do you leverage the efficiency without getting hit with visibility penalties?
Yeah, tricky tightrope to walk. Okay, this all brings us back to the main point of sales content, really, customer engagement. And we're talking broadly here, likes, shares, sure, but also word of mouth, reviews, actual feedback, going way beyond just the purchase itself. This engagement, we know it's vital for business performance. It impacts revenue, customer lifetime value, long-term sales success. So the big question, how does AI-generated content affect that crucial human connection? Can it actually build rapport?
That really is the million-dollar question for sales leaders, isn't it? Now, generative AI can certainly create all the common types of content we use. Informational stuff like tutorials or news updates, check. Emotional content like humor or maybe entertainment, check. Transactional things like promotions or giveaways. Yep, it can do those too. However, because of those weaknesses, we talked about the potential inaccuracy, the sometimes generic feel AI-generated content might actually end up negatively affecting customer engagement. Imagine, like we said, a sales leader sending out an email with AI-generated misinformation. Trust evaporates. Or think about emotional content that just feels hollow. It lacks that genuine human touch that truly resonates. So can AI really deliver that nuanced emotional connection that drives deep, meaningful engagement? The research suggests it's a pretty significant challenge because engagement often boils down to things like empathy, authenticity, things AI isn't exactly known for.
Right. It can mimic, maybe, but not truly feel or convey genuine emotion. So it's not just about what the AI produces, but also who is seeing it and maybe what kind of product we're talking about. Does it perform differently in different scenarios?
Absolutely. The impact isn't going to be the same across the board. It really depends on several moderating factors. Think about the product type. High involvement products, things like health foods, complex software, big financial decisions, these require accurate, detailed information. If your AI content has errors here, trust just crumbles. The stakes are too high for the customer. On the other hand, low involvement products may be things where visual appeal is key. Visible flaws in AI-generated images could be a huge turnoff there.
Okay, so product involvement matters. What about the customer themselves?
Yeah, customer age seems to play a role too. Younger customers, generally speaking, tend to be more comfortable with new technologies. So they might be more receptive, maybe even engage more readily with AI-generated content simply because it feels new or cutting edge. They might just see it as another digital tool. Then you've got this idea of how much a customer values authenticity. If someone really prioritizes human-made, genuine content, they might actively pull back or disengage if they suspect something is AI-generated. They might see it as less real, less trustworthy.
Okay, so some people might actively reject it.
Possibly. But then, flip side again, you have highly innovative consumers. The early adopters, the people who love new tech, they might actually engage more with AI-generated content purely because of the novelty factor. They might see the company using it as being forward-thinking, innovative.
That's fascinating. So it's this complex mix. Product type, customer demographics, even their personal values around authenticity and innovation.
Wild.
And beneath all that, psychologically, what's going on when a customer sees this stuff? What's happening in their head?
Yeah, the research points to 3 key underlying psychological effects, or mediators. First one is trust. We kind of touched on this, but research, for example, on chatbots often shows people perceive AI as less empathetic, maybe less knowledgeable than a human. So when AI content is flawed or just feels off, it can directly erode customer trust, which obviously hurts engagement, maybe even loyalty. Sales leaders relying on automated AI need to really consider that risk.
Okay, trust is number one. What else?
Second, there's this feeling of eeriness. Sometimes customers might feel a bit uneasy or find it eerie when they encounter machine-made content that's trying very hard to act human-like. Think of the uncanny valley effect you see with realistic robots when something is almost human, but not quite. It can feel unsettling.
Right, a bit creepy.
Exactly. It can feel a little creaky, like machines are taking over things humans used to do. That feeling can definitely affect how customers perceive your brand and whether they want to interact with its content. It might feel too perfect or just weirdly impersonal.
Okay, so trust erosion and a potential eeriness. Is there anything on the plus side psychologically?
Yes, there is. The third factor is perceived firm innovativeness. If an organization skillfully uses cutting-edge generative AI and does it well, customers might see that company as being highly innovative. And the perception of innovation, it can actually boost customer engagement. It signals that you're a modern, forward-thinking company. So while you have the downsides trust, eeriness, there's also this potential upside for sales leaders to leverage AI to enhance their brand image if they deploy it thoughtfully. So if we try to wrap this all up, connect it to the bigger picture, generative AI for content marketing, it seems both inevitable and transformative. It really does. It brings massive opportunities, efficiency, creativity, especially for sales teams under pressure. But it also carries significant potential drawbacks, accuracy, quality, and that really crucial human connection piece. Sales leaders really need to navigate this new landscape carefully, thinking about who does what, the quality of the prompts, the quirks of different platforms, and always keeping an eye on those delicate customer engagement dynamics. You know, machines are becoming these powerful creative partners, but that human touch still feels paramount.
That's a perfect way to put it. We're stepping into a new landscape, for sure. Okay, so for you, the sales leader listening, let's boil this down. Here are 3 actionable takeaways you can implement pretty much immediately based on our deep dive today. First, cultivate prompt proficiency and human oversight. Don't just, throw content creation over the wall to the AI. Invest in training your sales and marketing folks to become really good prompt engineers. That means teaching them how to guide the AI effectively to get the best possible first draft. But crucially, you must establish clear processes for human review and refinement of absolutely all AI-generated content. Check for accuracy, make sure it sounds like your brand, and ensure it feels genuinely connective. This is non-negotiable for high-stakes customer interactions. Second takeaway, strategize AI content by platform and purpose. Remember, not all AI content works everywhere or for everything. You've got to tailor your AI use. Think about the specific social channel visual stuff for TikTok or Instagram, maybe more text for Twitter or LinkedIn, and differentiate based on the type of content. Is it purely informational, trying to be emotional, or is it transactional, like a promotion. And definitely keep an eye on those potential SEO impacts and the chance that platforms might start detecting or even penalizing generic machine stuff. Your goal is visibility and real engagement, not just churning out volume. Okay, and takeaway number 3, prioritize authenticity and build trust. Always remember that AI-generated content can impact customer trust and how authentic they perceive your brand to be. So for content that's targeting those high-involvement products or talking to customer groups who really value that genuine human connection, you need to heavily vet the AI output or maybe lean much more towards human-generated content in those cases. Use AI to augment your process, yes. Boost efficiency, sure. But never, ever at the expense of the trust and the emotional connection that your sales efforts absolutely depend on. It's about empowering your team, right? Not replacing the soul of what you do. So here's a final thought to leave you with. As AI gets more and more sophisticated, how will you ensure your sales content not only informs but truly inspires human connection in a world increasingly filled with algorithms? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.